Imagine you're running a lunar mission using Earth time, UTC. Every rover, lander, relay satellite, and astronaut suit is synchronized to clocks on Earth. At first, everything's fine. Then navigation solutions start drifting. Rovers disagree about where they are. Communication windows miss each other by milliseconds. Then seconds. Commands arrive late, or worse, out of order. Nothing's failed, nothing's broken, no software is corrupted. Time itself is wrong. That's why researchers at the Purple Mountain Observatory created LTE 440, Lunar Time Ephemeris 440. This software is designed to synchronize clock time on the moon with Earth clocks, accounting for relativistic effects predicted by Einstein's equations. Why would this device be necessary? Let's dive in. I'm Ben. This is Physics or Bust. In spaceflight, time is infrastructure. If your clock is off by even 1 microsecond, your position solution could be off by 300 meters. Mars missions already fight with this constantly. On Mars, missions like Spirit, Opportunity, Perseverance, and Curiosity rely on tightly controlled onboard clocks that are periodically corrected from Earth to keep instruments synchronized and navigation solutions valid. The InSight lander required recalibration of its timing for its seismometer multiple times because even small clock drifts corrupted data alignment. Mars missions already have had to learn to deal with long communication delays, sparse navigation updates, and frequent resynchronization with Earth. Now imagine the Moon in a decade. It'll probably have multiple vehicles operating simultaneously, autonomously, and continuously. If each system's clock drifts differently, coordination collapses. Rovers miss relay satellite passes, docking and landing windows shift, data streams no longer line up in time. This isn't a software bug, it's a physics problem. What other things can you think of would go wrong without correcting time? Let me know in the comments below. Here's the part most people miss. Clocks on the moon tick faster than clocks on Earth. Not symbolically, not operationally, physically. This comes directly from Einstein's general theory of relativity. In general relativity, gravity is not just a force. It reshapes space-time itself. And where space-time is more strongly curved, time runs slower. Earth is more massive than the moon, which means its gravitational field is stronger. So time on Earth runs slightly slower than time on the moon. The relationship is captured at first order by the gravitational time dilation. Delta T over T is approximately delta phi over c squared, where delta phi is the difference in gravitational potential, and c squared is the speed of light squared. When physicists calculate the gravitational potential difference between the Earth's surface and the Moon's surface, the result is not ambiguous. A clock on the Moon gains about 56 microseconds per Earth day compared to a clock on Earth. That number is not adjustable, and it's not a calibration error. It's baked into space-time. We'll dig into the physics in a minute, but first, if you like this video, you'd probably like this book. I've got a link in the description below. I do get a small commission, but it wouldn't cost you any extra. 56 microseconds sounds harmless, until you let it accumulate. After 1 day, you're off by 56 microseconds. After 1 week, approximately 400 microseconds. After a month, 1.7 milliseconds. After a year, over 20 milliseconds. If you resynchronize periodically, you've now introduced navigational instability, data misalignment, autonomous system disagreement, and increased dependency on Earth. This is exactly why Newtonian timekeeping fails beyond Earth. In Newtonian physics, time is absolute. There's one universal clock for the whole universe. Special and general relativity both declare that assumption was always wrong. We just didn't notice for a really long time because we've only been on one planet. After you've operated long-term in another gravitational environment, the illusion collapses. And gravity is only half the story. Special relativity adds in another correction. Clocks slow down when they move faster. Earth's surface rotates faster than the moon's. Earth orbits the sun. The moon orbits Earth. Satellites move faster than the Earth's surface. Each of these motions alter the tick rate slightly. When engineers account for Earth's rotation, orbital velocities, lunar motion, satellite motion, they find something critical. The special relativistic effects do not cancel the gravitational effect. Gravity wins. Even after all velocity corrections, lunar clocks still run faster than Earth clocks. Relativity isn't optional. It can't be engineered away. That's why researchers at the Purple Mountain Observatory worked on LTE 440, and space agencies are working on defining a dedicated lunar time standard. Not Earth time transmitted to the moon, but moon time, defined in its gravitational and relativistic frame. Now lunar timekeeping systems explicitly incorporate general relativity, special relativity, orbital dynamics, and long-term clock stability. The goal is simple. A clock on the moon should keep real time for time on the moon, not on Earth. This is the same logic behind GPS time, but now applied to another celestial body. Einstein wrote these equations in 1915, when there were no rockets, no satellites, no base on the moon. And yet, over a century later, his math now dictates how we navigate other worlds, how future colonies coordinate, and how interplanetary civilization keeps time. Lunar time will be the first non-Earth planetary time standard. Mars will require its own. Deep space missions already rely on relativistic coordinate time centered on the solar system itself. This is the beginning of a multi-world time system, where physics, not tradition, determines what now means. We can no longer afford to view time as universal. The moment even a part of humanity leaves Earth permanently, Einstein becomes our clockmaker instead of Newton. And the moon is where we'll test out that lesson first. For more updates on space and science, remember to like and subscribe, and remember, keep asking questions. I'll see you on the next video.